Recently, I was doom scrolling on TikTok while in bed to distract myself from the concept of time passing by as I slip further and further behind, wondering where my life is heading. When I saw a silly little clip of a game called Mimesis. The premise of this game, from what I understood, was you go into an area, collect scrap to earn money while avoiding death, which in this game could be your own friends, as the monster seems to mimic players by replaying audio clips of their voice to try and trick you to lower your guard so they could strike. Back to the TikTok clip I saw. The player was having full-on conversations with who he thought was his friend for a good while until it ended up being a mimic, which quickly killed him after that.
Oh, it's a fake.
The way he and his friends reacted gave me a good chuckle, so I went to check the comments to see what people were saying, and to my surprise, not only was the most liked comment simply the word friendslop, a lot of comments were simply calling this game friendslop. Now my next question was, what the fuck is a friendslop? So, like most of my videos before this one, I did a bit of extensive research on the topic. And by that I mean I clicked the little blue word in the TikTok comments. Surprisingly, doing research on TikTok was not that helpful. Can you believe that? As it only showed clips from popular games like Lethal Company and Repo, which were games I enjoyed playing with my friends, but I was kind of starting to get the idea of what it meant, as all of these games had similar premises. You play it with friends, and it has monsters that kill your friends in funny ways because of proximity chat. So then I went on to do some real research and found this definition on the Urban Dictionary. Friendslop, to receive from your friend. I might be wrong on this one. Clearly that wasn't the right definition, so I kept going until I found one that fit what most people were saying. Friendslop is a humorous and derogatory slang term describing video games primarily meant to be played together with friends, coined in March 2025 alongside the complementary term friend farming. Now what the fuck is friend farming? Basically, from what I understand, friendslop are games that are usually cheap and most of the fun comes from playing with friends while having short replayability windows before getting old. Not to sound too old, after all, I am only a 23-year-old kid. But back in my day, this was just called multiplayer games, you know, because it had multiple players. Now everybody's starting to call these multiplayer games friendslop, which, you know, might not be the nicest thing to call someone's piece of work after all. But what if I told you this genre goes way back and it's honestly just another genre with a slight adjustment? Now, if you don't know what couch co-op games are, it's literally what it sounds like. Games you play with your friends on the couch. But if you wanted to be more specific, they are games that make you cooperate with your friends to achieve the same goal or compete with each other to see who's the best. What sets these games apart from regular multiplayer games is that they are meant for short play sessions at a time. With that in mind, these games are designed to be accessible to anyone instantly, and the fun comes from the idea that being bad together is fun. Think of games like Gang Beasts, Human Fall Flat, and Overcooked. All of these games had minimal mechanics that were easy to pick up. The game didn't need to add depth to it since the fun came from playing with your friends. Games didn't require us to pour hundreds of hours in to have a good time, and that's why they worked. They were fun games that were there just to fuck around with your friends. They didn't have high replayability, but that didn't matter as it was fun. The only thing that hurt this genre for a while was when they said couch co-op, they really meant it, as you could not play any of these games online for a good while. At least, for example, one of my favorite games to play back then was Gang Beasts, but the game did not receive multiplayer for a couple years, and by then we had moved on. Not only did we move on, it seemed as the world had moved on from this genre, as online play was just way more convenient. So this genre slowly died as more and more online games with matchmaking released, and the genre slowly faded away. But then something small happened in 2020 in Wuhan, China. Honestly, I forgot what it was, but it caused the world to shut down. Social activities, school, clubs, anything of that sort shut down, which made people lonely. And with morale already being down in the dumps, being lonely did not help. But then something happened. Angel finally got their wings. Originally released in 2018, Among Us is a game where a group of 10 must figure out who the imposter or imposters are before the imposters kill the crewmates and win the game. Simple enough, but I'm sure you all knew all of this already, as the game blew up massively 2 years after it released. Of course, this happening during lockdowns helped a lot, as people were craving social interaction, and if you recall, that wasn't really possible. So let's play Among Us. It was kinda like hanging out, and unlike most video games, the game didn't require any skill to have fun with it. And to top it all off, not only was the game $5 on Steam, if that was too expensive for you, you could get it for free on the phone. Oh yeah, no excuses now, buddy. Hop on the fucking Among Us. Of course, I could go into all the other stuff that went down that helped this game blow up, but I'm sure you get the point. Alright, Fountain Guy, I know all of this. Why are you telling me about Among Us? I clicked a video about friendslop. What are we doing? Well, first of all, thank you for clicking the video. It means a lot, and the immense growth this channel has had is something I could only dream of, and we are so close to 1,000 subs. Second of all, how fucking dare you question me? What if I told you Among Us was the ancestor of friendslop? The founding father of friendslop, if you will. After the sudden rise of Among Us, everybody wanted a piece of the cake and tried to replicate the success Among Us had, but nothing came close to the clout Among Us had. Hell, you even had Fortnite literally rip off Among Us as a new game mode called Imposters, which was literally the same game but just in Fortnite. pretty fucked up, guys. There was also Phasmophobia, which came pretty close to capturing that feeling for a while, but then came created by Zeker. Lethal Company is a co-op horror game that released on October 23rd, 2023. In this game, players must work together to scavenge these buildings found on abandoned moons, hoping to collect enough scrap to meet quotas set forth by the company. Lurking in these abandoned buildings are the monsters, which genuinely are scary to deal with, but what really sold this game to me and many others was...
Oh, what the hell? What is that? Oh no! God damn it! Oh.
Proximity chat. I couldn't tell you how many times I was dying from laughter as I heard one of my friends dying in a different hallway only for him to go quiet suddenly, or watching them plummet to their death as their voice gets further and further away. Things like this made for extremely funny moments that could easily be shared on YouTube or TikTok, and it blew up almost overnight. Now, I don't think Seekers was necessarily trying to compete with or even remotely inspired by Among Us, as they are both completely different games. If anything, this game was more similar to Phasmophobia. What I meant by Among Us being the predecessor of this was solely on the accessibility and social aspect this game provided. Although the pandemic was basically over, people got a taste of the feeling that came from socializing with friends on a game. And even better, it was all online. You know how hard it is to get fuckers in your friend group to agree to hanging out nowadays? It's damn near impossible. Oh, can I get a ride? Oh, I have to go to work. I mean, if you were my real friend, you would quit your job. Online, all you have to do is agree on a time and send an invite, and boom, you're set for a great time with your friends. And many great times were had with Lethal Company. Seriously, if you have not played this game with your friends, please do, as it's actually one of the best multiplayer games I have ever played. It's really impressive what was accomplished by one developer, and all the success it received was well deserved. But as we all know, success breeds imitation. Hey guys, I came up with a great idea for a game that has never been done before. So you and your friends have to go into this creepy place and collect enough items to meet quota, or else you die. Careful though, as there are plenty of monsters you have to be aware of. Of course, this game will have proximity chat so you and your friends can post plenty of silly clips on YouTube and TikTok. I will spread the word about this game, which makes me a lot of money. Does this sound familiar? I should, because let's be honest, it's everywhere. The first notable case I remember was content warning. Let me tell you the premise of this game. You and 3 other friends head to a very creepy place where you must avoid these very scary monsters while at the same time making enough money to meet your quota, or else it's game over. Now, what other game does this? Well, Fountain Guy, if it was just the same game, why would you even get it? Well, my dear viewer, they gave that shit out for free, so how could I say no? Don't get me wrong, this game was fun. For about an hour, until you realize there isn't much content. When Lethal Company released, the game had about 7 rooms, which meant 7 different layouts and environments, so there was good variety in the environments you played. In content warning, you had 1 map, or to be more accurate, it had only 1 environment. This gray building where everything inside was devoid of color. Sure, it was scary for a bit, but after a while it just became a routine. This game peaked around 200,000 players when it originally released, but that might have been because it was free and not because of its content. It currently sits at 500 players right now on Steam, which might be from the developers not updating the game as frequently, leading to people moving on from the game. Which, to be fair to the developers, that's not a requirement to provide post-release content, but it does help maintain and gain new players. Surprisingly enough, this game is coming out on the Switch 2 later this year, which I did not know about until I began writing this video. Good for them. Now, on the more successful side, we have Repo, which released almost a year ago. And if I were to be a dick and generalize this game to its bare bones, then it is a game where you and 3 other friends head to a very creepy place where you must avoid these very scary monsters while at the same time making enough money to meet your quota, or else it's game over. Oh, sorry, 5 other friends. Okay, to call this a copy of Lethal Company and the other clones that have released before would be as unfair to call Sonic a copy of Mario, just because they're both platformers. Sure, they're very similar, but they both have different things that set them apart that you wouldn't find in the other game. What sets Repo apart was that it was physics-based and the items you collect can actually break if you aren't careful enough. Repo also has a very different vibe to the game than something like Lethal Company, where in Repo, I usually never get scared or freaked out. The most that happens is that I get jump scared by a monster or 2. But I'm never really freaked out or scared to investigate. While in Lethal, the game was very scary to begin with, as it plays with the isolated environment more and really freaks you out, as it is a tiny bit more realistic. You never want to be alone in this game. When all my friends die in Repo, sure it's scary, but it's whatever, I could always bring them back. When all my friends die in Lethal, fuck that, we're taking the L for the day and I'm bringing them back because I'm not going there alone. Not that there's anything wrong with Repo for not being scary, it just doesn't creep me out as much as Lethal, and that's okay. Repo is just more focused on having silly moments with your friends, while Lethal in my opinion tries to scare you. So why did Repo succeed while the content warning fell? Well, for me at least, it came at a perfect time when I had stopped playing Lethal for a while, enough for me to want to play it again with my friends soon, but now there was this new toy I could try with my friends. Now this game peaked at 271,000 players, similar to Content Warning. Unlike that game, however, the game is still reaching 100,000 players every weekend, which was extremely surprising as I thought the wait for that game was done, but I was wrong. Even Lethal Company, the game one could argue started this whole friendslop trend nowadays, only reaches to 10,000 players on the weekends. Now these are just some of the notable examples that fit the description of friendslop according to people online. Sketchy's Contract, Forsaken Frontiers, Skyward Extraction, Schedule 1, The Headliners, Darkwater, Subterraneuts, Murky Divers, Forewarned, Pilgrim. Now I have not played any of these games myself, but I have seen some gameplay of these games, and to say that these are friendslop is extremely reductive in my opinion. But then again, the main aspect of friendslop is that they require friends to have fun, which I guess that is an impossible task for some people. Let's talk about when the term friendslop was at its highest. One could even say this is where the term friendslop peaked. Released in June 16, 2025, Peak is a co-op climbing game where you and your group of friends must reach the peak of a mountain by using your bare hands to climb. And of course, this game has proximity chat so you can post your silly clips and get more attention for your game. It's what a miserable person thinks. I personally had a great time with Peak and it was fun to climb the mountain with my friends, and it was hilarious to see them fall down and die as their screams echoed. Got a trail mix or something in their backpack named Brian. Oh, yo, Brian! I'm dead, bro. You gotta be fucking kidding me. I mean, sure, these moments are great for promoting your game online, but is that really what most people think about when they see this? At least for me, the first thing that comes to my mind is, damn, that looks like it'll be fun with my friends. But it seems like I might be alone, as this is where the term friendslop peaked, as more and more people were starting to call the game friendslop online. Even discrediting the success the game received and calling it low effort because the game relies on you to have friends to play it. Is it really fair to call something slop because people don't have the friends to enjoy it with? Sure, for me, most of the fun came from playing with my friends, but that's not to say the game can't be enjoyed alone. I mean, most of the games I mentioned here can be enjoyed alone to some degree, except Content Warning, that one actually relies on you to have friends. The term friendslop is dumb and dismisses the hard work a developer does to put out a game, and it also hurts the games as most of these games have something that make them unique. This genre isn't bad, but I can also agree we might have one too many. But that's just what happens when a product is successful. It produces competition. Think of when Super Mario Bros. On the NES came out. Everybody was making platforms, hoping to get some success. And sure, we got some games like Bubsy, but we also got Sonic the Hedgehog. If anything, they're the new couch co-op minus the couch. And that's my problem with friendslop. The name is inherently bad, which is reductive of what these games have accomplished, as all of these have been pretty successful whether or not people agree. I think the genre is fine on its own, but we definitely need a new term for it. But what do I know? I'm just a dumb YouTuber talking at the end of the day. Thanks for watching. Let me know which of these games you look fondly on the most. I think Lethal Company was my favorite, so what's yours?